Hi everyone, it's Jan Guarino, Fearless Watercolors, and we are doing what looks like a very ambitious scene of our local Northport Harbor in a evening sunset kind of situation. But we're going to break it down and we're going to make it go nice and smooth. And here it is. This is our image. Typical scene, sun setting way, way, way to the northwest, much more than usual. And yeah, so this should be good. Okay, what I've got going on here is a couple of my brushes, all my regular brushes, my big brush, my 20, my 10. Definitely will want a nice, let's see, probably some kind of pointed, this is like one of those triple loader. If you don't have it, it's not a big deal. And our spray bottles. And of course, if you haven't, activate your watercolors with your spray bottle that has a couple of drops, if you have it, of gum arabic. And the reason being is so that it gives more, not just water to your paints, but also a little gum arabic, which is actually the active ingredient that makes them move so beautifully. Let's do some sky. I want to talk about the colors that we see in the sky here, because that really is super important. So we have this blue, but we also have a lot of white and then some gray and some gold in there. So let's make sure we sort of hold on to all of that. We're going to go right through the tree, not even worry about that. And since we're building the horizon, we could go right past the horizon. All of this is dark. So let's break it down a little bit, okay? There's no reason why we can't come right through the water here and have the color and the light and the color again go right through, because everything here is in a silhouette. I want you to see that, because it really makes a difference in how you go about your painting. And of course, the more that we can have our painting sort of flow and whatnot, the better, more cohesive it is, rather than in pieces. So let us get started with I'm going to use a number 10 brush here. I'm going to keep this just out of sight over here so I could paint. And let's get some of that nice blue in this upper corner here. Let's start building our sky. And I say that that's deeper than cerulean. To me, it looks more like a cobalt. So I think that would be a good way to go also. And what I'm going to do is put a little color down. And so if you don't have cobalt, you can use your cerulean, or even your ultramarine. And these clouds are quite formative. So I'm going to just soften them ever so little. Where am I? Hold on. Let me aim my camera a little bit for you. So I just softened the top a little bit. And then I can add some more blue and keep it sort of dark and soft and moving all at the same time. So you see, I'm just going in with a little bit of water and giving it ever so slight, a little bit of our movement. And I think a nice color to add to this would be, and again, I'm just going to try to follow the photo because I think it's very dramatic. And it does have a little bit of that warmth in there that's coming from the sky. So if you like, you could add a little bit of your jaune brilliant, which is not a bright white, but it's sort of a soft white. I'll back out of this a little bit so you can see, get a little perspective of where I'm going with it. And then let's add a little bit of our, I'm gonna get my moon glow going here, because I think that's, or a little, yeah, I think a little moon glow would be nice also. Kind of give ourselves some really beautifully dramatic clouds. And just keep it real soft and really make sure there's no super hard edges. Let's build this sky. So if it's a little wet, it will help to move things along. And that moon glow just does tone down the white clouds ever so slightly, which is really, really nice. Keep the edges soft. If you're not ready to go into a certain area, just soften the edge. Keep it really nice and soft. Or wet, one or the other. When we come up to the sun, which is right over here, I'm going to give that a nice glow. I think the Jaune Brilliant will be really nice around there. It's not really yellow. The Jaune Brilliant is a great color if you want to make it using a little bit of your yellow and a little bit of a white. That's how you get that. And what I like about the Jaune Brilliant is that if I use blue next to it, it doesn't turn green, which is helpful when you're doing a sunset like this, a sun scene. Just going to add a little bit of color right around the sun, a little bit of maybe pink or orange, some kind of glowing color. It's a little bit too much, so take it and move it a little bit and keep those colors kind of on the horizon. You could use a bigger brush that I'm using. I'm not really using a terribly big brush, but I'm sort of taking it in spots as I'm doing it. And don't worry about anything that's on the dock. You could come, even though we have a nice horizon there, it's going to get way darker, and we're going to build this. So this way you don't really have to end the horizon too much. As I said before, it's all going to get darker. Let me back out and show you where I'm at. Kind of have some nice clouds going on there. A little bit of moon glow sort of gives them a little bit of drama. If you work wet into wet with this, it'll really look very super soft. There's nothing white here, so that's really good. The horizon does get a little lighter there, which will be really nice. We can definitely build that. Go right to the tree. Don't even worry about the tree. That's going to be wonderful that we could just go right around that, right through it, basically. This is kind of one of those dramatic clouds. It's got a little purplier, so the moon glow will take care of that. You could add a little blue to that and a little bit of moon glow just to deepen it right in here. Not quite a storm cloud, but those clouds that kind of pop up sometimes in the summer evenings. And just giving a little bit of that Jaune Brilliant to your horizon line. And back to my blue. I'm going to tilt my paper a little bit and let some things swirl around, which would be nice also. Nothing's white, so we're able to really do that. So by adding a little bit of water, I can really play with these clouds a whole lot. And just let the water just move the clouds a little bit, creates a really beautiful, natural looking sky. If you want to try it, you can actually use a little bit of tissue and just lift out and get some clouds that way also. So many ways to get this done. That's why the marks are so light, is really because we just don't need hard marks to do things like this. You're better off having just enough marks for what you need and nothing more, and let the rest paint the rest. If you want it to really swirl around, hit it with a little bit of water from your spray bottle. Just going to hit the center of the sun a little bit and let that kind of drip on down. I really got some beautiful dramatic things going on, only because I let it. I let it. Make your clouds swirly and just a lot of beautiful shapes. It's the time to do this because we don't want to come back into it. That moon glow really breaks off very nicely. So I generally don't work on an angle because I prefer to move my paper the way I want it to move. And that's helpful to me, is just having it do that. And once we add the really nice pilings and the water and all of that, would be really, really, your sky, it would just be there to sort of support all of that. And who's to say that isn't the sky that you saw, right? Okay. So we can really carry this color. We know we have the horizon there. We're going to build that. But I think it'd be nice to carry the color down a little bit into the water, right? A little bit. Now, that sort of is a purpley blue to me. So maybe we want to build it with a little bit of our moon glow and our blue, right? Our same two colors. Just to give it a little bit of color right now. Leaving this center part, this is really important that you sort of leave that center part where the sun is hitting the water. And again, we're coming into a pretty dark area here. So the rocks, just come up to the rocks, because we're going to want to hit the edges of the rocks with a little bit of light hitting it. I think that looked really nice. So I'm just sort of giving this some color, a little bit of bluish violet. We'll go in and do a lot of those ripples, and we'll do a lot of things like that in a bit. I just want to get a little bit of color down right now. The best thing you could do when you're doing a painting like this is see how connected things can be and go from there. It's a really good way to work your painting in terms of getting your first wash down as cleanly as you possibly can, because it connects so many things together, right? It connects so many things together instead of doing it in pieces. All of this is darker, so we can just go in and add a wash right here. Just a light wash. Now, when it comes to in here, let me zoom in a little bit. What you could do is have your brush skip a little bit over the paper to give some glistening. We'll do a little bit more of that in a little bit, but just have it skip a little bit so that it glistens over your paper. You need to work a little drier when you're doing something like that. Very pale kind of color. And those are the rocks. That's a good start. The horizon here, as this dries, we could go in and really do that. Now we know that it's horizon and we know that it's green, but I would not put green on that horizon because it's in shadow. So the best thing that you could do is take maybe your undersea and maybe your moon glow or something to darken it, maybe a little bit of your neutral tint, something to tone it down. It should not be green. Okay, now this is starting to dry up here, so I can go in and just do this landscape up here. It should be a much deeper, richer green, and then you come right to that horizon line. Starting to get, it's a little wetter on that side, so I'm going to wait and go on the other side. I want it to be a little drier. So I'll come over here and just do this. This on this side, it's much lower. Test it out. If it's spreading a lot, just wait a minute and let it dry a little bit more. And where the sun is hitting it, what we want to do is we want it to be lighter there. So we're definitely going to come in and go a little bit lighter. Still moving. This is still moving to a soft edge, which is okay. I've done that many, many times. That is okay to have that do that. As you come into the area where the sun is, you want to go lighter in there, almost as if the sun is, and it is, it's kind of glowing right in here. So you want that area to go lighter. Maybe add a little bit of your Jean Brilliant there or something to, although it's darker as a landscape, you want to push the boundaries of that a little bit. It'd be really nice. See, it's getting a little greener than I want. So I want to tone this down. I really don't want it to go green. I really want to make it look very shadowy. But you see, it has that illusion of where the light is. It's sort of blocking it out a little bit. I really wanted to push that thought a little bit right here. So I'm actually giving it a little bit more, even more than I see in the photograph. I think it looked really good. Just a hint that they're there. Let me go closer and show you what I did there. See, just a hint of this here. That's really all you need. We want it to go lighter and then darker on either side. And your neutral tint should do a good job with that. Going a little darker in spots. I'm using my 200-pound Saunders Waterford. Been playing around with this paper for a while, and I like it. It's in between my 140 cold and my 300 hot press. So this is all pretty wet. I think it would be nice. This is still a little damp yet. Where's my rigger? Where'd it go? Can't work without my rigger. Love that rigger. Okay, where'd it roll off to? All right. I'll grab another one. Gotta have a rigger. Okay. I'm going to take that same green dark color that we did here, and I'm going to build some of these branches. You could use almost any kind of color to do this, but I think that little bit of a green would be really nice here, that greeny dark color. But it's the thing about it now is I'm using it in a way that is a little bit more not as wet. It's more of a dry mark. Now, when I do branches, I try to, let me just talk about this for a second. I come down and I change direction. And unless it's a willow tree, which this is not, I think this is more like a cypress tree. I'll do a mark and then I'll change direction. And it comes out a little bit more interesting as a branch. So what I want you to avoid is, I'll just do a little quick demo here. When you do a branch, don't do it like this. It really doesn't look accurate enough, okay? When you accentuate or really see that these branches are sort of going different directions like this, it's a lot more interesting. So unless it's a willow tree, which, like I said, this is not, and you don't even have to have your branches connect, you could actually just let them go off. Now I do see a very nice undersea with a warm yellowy orange in this. So I'm going to load up my brush with a little bit of both of those, little undersea and a little bit of orange. Maybe you could use a little bit of your Quin Gold Deep. And you could actually take some of the marks that you used in your branches and let them melt a little bit. And if you need to, use your dot sprayer to just sort of interrupt some of your marks a little bit. That whole area should be dry. It's pretty dry on mine. And you could feel that as it gets further away from the sky, it goes a little bit darker, falls more into shadow. You can also, if you wanted to get a little bit more detailed, you could use a, a sponge. Sometimes it gets a little tedious with a sponge, but that I'll leave that up to you guys to decide if that's something you want to do. Have it trail off. You don't even have to connect these dots. They really don't even have to be connected. The eye connects it. Just to get that feeling of this is foreground, so it's very close to us. Okay. Leave that for now. See if it's enough. It may be enough. It may not be enough. I don't know. One thing about working this way is you don't always know if you have enough. So you could always go back and add more, which I love working that way. This is still a little damp to the touch, but I think it's mine is, I think, okay enough to start adding a little bit more texture. So if you have a scrap piece of paper, I would like for you to always have a scrap piece of paper because they come in handy to just test your colors and test your marks, actually. So, and whatnot. So what I'd like for you to think about is taking your brush and having it sort of skip on the texture of your paper, because this will give a nice watery feel where the sun is sort of hitting. And then we can connect it with a little bit more water on either side, right? Where there's more information on the side, we could connect that with water. But this idea of this skipping is really what I wanted you to kind of get the feel for that. So your brush should be somewhat drier, not as much water. And I'm on the side of it. I had a little bit too much water. So it's definitely testing it and seeing, having your brush sort of do a very dry mark, and that'll make the water look glistening. It'll look really nice. So definitely practice something like that. That's always a good thing to do. Go a little closer and show you what I'm doing. Now remember, all this other stuff on the side, the boats and the dock is all going to go darker. So we don't have to really think about that as much.
What color are you using?
Well, I'm using the same bluish, violet. So I'm achieving it with a little bit of my cobalt and moon glow. So it's giving me kind of a purpley blue color. Good question. Thank you for asking it. I thought I had said it, but maybe I didn't. So what I do is I take a little bit of my moon glow and I put it into my well with my cobalt. I have to keep going back in and doing that. So that's okay if you have to do that. And it changes it a little bit, but I think it's better than just always having like pre-mixing like tons of color together. Doesn't really work for me. To mix a whole pile of color. If it changes a little bit, that's more natural looking to me than anything. Now, something to notice about waves is that, or water, as it comes towards you, there's a little bit more space in between the darks and the lights. So it's sort of a way that you show perspective. And I am going to go a little bit darker right now where the docks are, just because I know that I'm going to want that to be darker. So I'm just going in and adding a little bit more of that kind of deeper shadow there. I know that that's going to come in handy when we do the dock. So as your marks come towards you, what you're going to find is that these watery marks are sort of a little further apart and have a little bit more space between them. If they're the same, then it really wouldn't be showing anything too accurate in terms of what's happening with your water, right? Your water view would all look the same. So that's why that is important to do that. And there's a little ripple. It's not that calm, totally calm water that we see sometimes at sunset. This has got some ripples to them. And it's far less on the other side because this is further away. So we really don't even have to do too much over here at all. Just make sure you have enough color over there to, have it read as that sunset water. But here is really where it is. Much smoother over here on this side. And just stand back from it a little bit, make sure it reads exactly as you want it to. Now I'm going to try something. I'm going to see how it looks. I'm going to take some of the Jean Brilliant and I'm going to also just skip that along the water a little bit. So it should be pretty dry. Test it out on a piece of paper. It should be skipping on the top of the paper. Keep your marks horizontal. And I'm going to add a little bit of a very, very little, not a lot. And I'm going to test it out. Okay, my Quinn Gold Deep, just to give it a little bit more oomph. It's a little too much. And it's skipping. Let me go closer for you and show you. That skipping really does such a beautiful job. And let's see if that's enough. I don't know, but let's see. It could be. It could be enough. This got a little mushy on the top here. I want this to be a little bit more defined. So I'm going to go back into here and just do the tops of that horizon a little bit. And make sure it fades into that area that gets light. It's such an iconic landscape. So this is back, I'm just going back in and fixing it a little bit with my undersea and my neutral tint. I wanted to see a little bit of the horizon there, but I didn't want it to be quite as much as it was. So in the photo. So yeah, that feels like that sun is sort of hitting it so strongly, right? Just feeling my paper to see where I could work next. I'm thinking the rocks could be next while we're waiting for this to dry, because I don't want to do the dock and the boats until that's completely dry, right? I want to wait a little bit on that. So, you know, just kind of watch your timing a little bit on all of these things. Just adjusting my color a little bit. It's really not my color, it's my the tone, just making sure the value of it is dark enough right here. So you notice it's drier and skippier here and wetter as we move away from that glistening. And then I'm going to melt these marks right into above the rocks. Now, I did say that I wanted the rocks to have a little bit of a hint of that light hitting them. So let me figure out a good color for the rocks. And I'm thinking that a good color would be my Moon Glow. And let's take a little bit of my, oh, that could be nice. Okay, I'm mixing a little bit of Moon Glow with my Quin Gold Deep, sort of giving me a really nice, let me test it out and see if you like it. It's giving me a nice brown. Again, the pole is going to be darker, so I can sort of go right through that. So Moon Glow and Quin Gold Deep. It's a new combination, but I like it. And of course, those are basically a purple and a yellow. So of course, those two colors are going to give us a brownish color. And that yellowy orange from the Quin Gold Deep will make it look like the sun is kind of hitting it nicely. And then you could go in and add a little bit more of your Moon Glow to just sort of get it to be a little darker. And again, I'm kind of using a skip technique for the rocks to give it a little bit of texture. So I'm using the texture of the paper to get me there. And the rocks do get smaller as they go into the horizon. So your mark should be smaller as well. And hit it with some of these, the shadows with just straight either Moon Glow or straight neutral tint. And then we'll get into that grass area. Okay. I'm hitting the edge of this with my dot sprayer. And I'm going to repeat this color here, down here for the grass. Which was, so you could use almost any green that you have. Your undersea, whatever you used up here, you could use down here. And I'm going to let the dot sprayer sort of take this paint and just sort of move it for me. The dot sprayer is just a great way to just have these colors sort of move all around for you. The color shift does enough of the talking, really. I'm going to definitely do some splatter down there also. So much of this is just timing. You know, you just have to watch the timing on everything so that nothing, you're working at the right moment in every area. It's amazing, isn't it, how like fast a painting comes together. I'm always, pleasantly surprised when I see that happening. It's like, well, it's, coming out. It's starting to appear. Something is happening. Working wet into wet here is really a fun way to go. I'm going to take my tissue. I'm just going to kind of cover my water up a little bit. And I'm just going to do a little splatter. You don't have to do this, but I think, oops, I don't want it up there. Okay, so it got a little spotty in areas that I didn't cover, which I should have. Note to self, if you don't want it to go in certain areas, cover it up. Good news is it's eliminated pretty fast, but I really should have covered that up with a piece of paper. We'll go in and do a little bit more in there. And again, I'm going to talk about timing because we have these poles here. This is too wet to do this, but it's not too early to build this shadow because I can pull the shadow right out of the landscape here. I love these shadows. I just love them. So I'm basically gathering up everything that's here and pulling it out. It'll make more sense when we add our poles. Cannot do that right now, for sure. But we know that we're going to be doing that. What I do in some sections, I don't do everywhere. I just maybe find a couple little spots to put things in, like that really nice darky dark. I really feel that haze kind of coming right there, which is exactly what I wanted. That's skipping off the water, the light on the water, which is what I was looking for too. Okay. So let me go ahead and show you some of the other things that I want to do to this. I'm going to take my Moon Glow with, I want a really dark color now. So I'm going to take Moon Glow and I'm going to go a little deeper even with a little bit of my neutral tint. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this dot down. And it's got dock stuff. It's got pilings. It's got all kinds of things on it. People, boat rigging, whatever. I don't have to know what it is. I just have to know that something is happening there. And I just have to indicate it a little bit. The important part of this is that gazebo that's at the end of the dock. And you could absolutely see that there's no, my marks are not even. There's pilings going on. There's pilings underneath. There's crisscrosses going on. I'm sorry. I'm not sure. Was that question directed towards me?
Yes, are you using a rigger?
Yes, I am using my rigger.
Thank you.
I like my rigger for these kinds of marks because they are just so, they're kind of, it's a little floppy. I'll go a little closer and just show you what I'm doing. And there's all kinds of things going on that I just really want to address. The rigger gives me some interesting marks, which I really do just love that. So the important thing here is this gazebo. That is absolutely iconic in Northport. And you go out there and you sit there and watch the sunset. It's just magic. And notice that my marks are a little calligraphic. They're really not perfect. It makes it painterly. And maybe there's people along here sitting. There's little seats there. When you do these pilings, just make sure that they're a little crooked in spots, because they really are. They're crisscrossing. Some are in front, some are behind. Make them, interesting. Don't line them up like soldiers. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom of the pilings and give it a little squiggle down. So really what I'm doing is I'm melting that bottom mark to the water. The reason why I wanted to show this to you is because this is where your eye is going to go. And all the boats. Now they're all in silhouette. So there's a lot of boats in the harbor. So again, this is just a little bit of moon glow and my neutral tint. And what you're going to find is all the little things that you were fussing about, you probably don't have to fuss about. And that's why I wanted to sort of get you here a little sooner than later. And of course, we want to build those beautiful masts up. So let me back out and show you how something as simple as those little marks are really what the painting needs. And that's the reason for the painting was these things that we're doing now. Everything else was just sort of a necessity for us to add this, believe it or not. And of course, these should get smaller and thinner as they move across the page to your right as they move out of focus. And now the chain is so great. I really want to do the chain. That's a big, to me, that's a big part of this also. Of course, squiggle these down. So the reason why I want you to take a look at your painting is you could say, oh my goodness, I didn't get as far as you did, or I didn't do as much. You may find you don't need to do as much as you think you do. And that is an important thing to think about. Now, if you're not good at doing this with a brush, the links, do it with a micron. right? A micron will do this very nicely. Know where you're going with it. It's going to meet up right up here. And this also should get thinner and finer as it moves away. So those are important things to think about when you're doing these things. They say perspective, and you don't even have to connect your dots. You really don't. The eye will connect it for you. The viewer's eye. I'll back out and show you what I mean. It's got a little too light over here. I'm going to have to go back over this. I had too much water and not enough paint. And you could even go in and take a little bit of your marker, your white marker or a little Jean Brilliant, and you could actually go into these dark areas and hit a little bit of light with them, if you wanted to. Kind of where the light is glistening off the rocks, right? Now, as I look at this, there's a couple of things that I think I'd like to do. One is maybe add some birds. Which is very common to see seagulls or the ducks flying or whatever. And as I look at this, I'm going to tell you what I think it needs. A couple of things. I mentioned some splatter here. I thought would be nice. And I think it needs more texture up there. So that's what I'm talking about when I say, maybe don't feel like you have to complete the whole painting before you go in and you determine what it is that needs to get done. I can go in and shift some of the things that are going on. I can, let me get my tissue and I'll show you about the splatter idea that I have. So I'm just kind of covering up that what I don't want to have splattered. I love the things that say watercolor. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, see, that really kind of works. That kind of texture really kind of speaks to me. It says grass, but it's not really controlled, And now I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, this is just too light. This dried a little too light. So I'm thinking of going a little darker up here. So I don't necessarily feel I have to work on the whole painting in pieces. I can move around and I could say what I think, what else I think it might need. There are lampposts on the docks. So how to darken this when you've already done it. So there's a number of ways to do it, actually. I don't actually mind that splatter over here. Kind of like it. I just love splatter. Splatters and drips and all of these things that happen because it's a watercolor. So those are the things I just really love to embrace. And even this area in the background, if I wanted to go a little darker, see, I can rework some of these areas that I feel need a little bit more oomph to them without disrupting anything else that I did. Okay, now let's go back into this tree. I'm thinking of that a sponge might be a really nice idea to add a little bit more depth to it. So I'm going to go into my palette and get what I call palette mud and see what comes up. Yeah, that's good. Nice, deep, rich, dark. It needed some oomph up here. So that's really my undersea and a little bit of my neutral tint. Yeah, now that's talking to me better. And I think I'm going to just go in and disrupt some of those marks just a little bit. It's a little fussy to me, right? Just blend some of those marks a little bit before they dry too much. I definitely wanted this to overlap and sort of come down and hang down. And in fact, I really think it should come pretty close to there. Just to show it's really in the foreground. Yeah, that works a lot better for me. Some branches. These are the final little touches that you do when you see it's really determining what the painting needs at this point, what's missing, what will make it look a little bit more complete. And it's taking a very, what you thought was like not impossible, but how am I going to get this, painting so much information onto a, from the photo to the painting with so much information. It's simplifying it. That's what it is. It's just taking it and simplifying it. Even here, I feel like this needs to go a little darker underneath the pilings. So there's really no area that I have to worry about going back to. There's not one area here that I can't go back and rework. Even if I wanted to put, let's say, more texture onto the rocks, right? I could totally go in and do that. There's just so, and you get to determine whether you want to do that or not, right? And I never really can consider a painting done until really the next day. But very often, of course, I take my mat board and I just determine where I want to crop it and how I want to crop it. And now it has a more complete look because I just put that border around it and helped it so much. And I really love this area being white. It sort of carries the lightness through. In fact, I'm thinking of doing something right here. Just thought of this. All right, I'm going to get, oh, there's my other rigger. Okay. I'm going to get my water bowl in here. And my spray bottle, where is it? My big spray bottle. Going to take some more of this off of here. I usually do this over the sink, so let's see how this does. I want to eliminate some of this and let this drip right off. As if the sun is hitting it right there even more. Of course, this is what we call going to the sink, but I'm not in the sink, I'm right here. And I'm doing it into this water bowl, but I want you to see how it just lightened up that area where that sun was hitting. And you could adjust your spray bottle to be as sharp or as loose as you want it to be.
You are one brave lady.
But look at what I gained from that. Let me get rid of this and dry this. I love going to the sink. It just undoes so many things that I need. I mean, it really feels that sun hitting it now, right? I feel like that's such a positive thing that amped up the painting that much more. Of course, I could hit it with a really hard spray. Here, I could go a little harder, and it gets a little messy on my desk, but I'll show you. So now I have a this is an adjustable nozzle. I hit it a little harder, even more is coming off. Going to the sink is like, I don't know, it's like a rites of passage. There's not one painting that I've done that I could not, find something that maybe I just want to lighten up and or get rid of an area that you're not happy with, right? That happens all the time. You could crop it off with your mat board, but try going to the sink first. Now I really feel that light hitting that area that much more. And it works. To me, that just kind of works. The only thing that I feel is I might have done a little differently is, and if, by the way, if this gets too dark, I could always hit that also with a little spray gun. But maybe I feel like I went like dead center with this. So maybe I need to just move that off center a little bit. So this is where I changed my composition a little bit to, yeah, that should not have been dead center perhaps. So perhaps I just move my center of interest depending on if you like your tree or if you like your rocks better or whatever, just throw it a little bit off center. That might be the only thing. Whenever I feel I see something later that I did not see in my composition, I don't consider it a mistake. I just consider it something that I can crop later. And so, so just putting this a little off center. I mean, the only artist that I know that gets away with everything dead center is Georgia O'Keeffe, and I'm not quite in her league yet. But that, if it doesn't bother you being dead center, then that's, then definitely leave that. But the fact that this just went that way, this adjustable nozzle is just, you could go as wide or as narrow as you want to do. And it really works so beautifully. So, yeah. And it's so much timing. I love these shadows. I love these long shadows here. I really love that side. So I don't really want to lose that. So maybe I would just take a little off my left side and keep those long shadows on the right. Find what part of the painting makes you the happiest. And you're not stuck with it. You're not stuck with it by any stretch of the imagination. You could just, crop it right off. I guess my mat was a little bit dirty from some paint, so I'm just getting it all over. But find the part of the painting that makes you the happiest and keep that and take off the rest. I think that works best for me because I just love these shadows on those long loopy shadows of the chain going on. But we did a lot, guys. We really took a very complex painting and simplified it and made it something that we could do in a relatively short amount of time. Now, granted, not everybody will paint as fast as me. You'll slow it down or you'll stop the painting and catch up or whatever. But what's important is that you see where I went with it and why I did the things I did. Was my tree dark enough to begin with? No. But I was able to go back in and make it darker. Did I want to add a little bit more to my horizon? Yeah, I kind of did want to do that. I may make these marks a tad darker, but the fact that the sun is hitting it is kind of nice. So basically, hopefully you understand that there's a reason that I kind of did everything that I did. And the fact that you can go back and shift some areas perhaps that you want to, but maybe you don't need to think of working it so much of it. There's a lightness and a freshness to it that happens when you know where you're going. And I realize that you guys don't always know where I'm going with these paintings. I get that. And that's why I want to get into these areas sooner than later for you so that you do know where I'm going and you can see why I did the things that I did and the timing and the order in which I did the things that I did. So, yeah, there we go. So let me just say this, that there really is a point in every painting where you just feel you have a hot mess. It's just not coming together. It's not looking the way you want it to. And you're ready to toss out the paper and give up. And I'm going to say to you that everybody has that happen to them, unless you're doing little pieces and you're building it. If you're working in this looser way, you will feel like you have a hot mess. But here's what I want to say to you. You're just not done. You're just not done. You didn't add those final details and build a painting. And this is the best information that I could impart to you in terms of guidance is don't give up. Finish the painting. Use your tools to maybe lift certain areas or crop areas out, but give it a chance to be finished before you judge it. Don't judge it too soon. All right. This is Jan Guarino, Fearless Watercolors. I'll see you again soon. Bye now.